Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the March 25th Mendon Board of Selectmen meeting. We're going to open the meeting, and please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. For the audience and the people at home, we had an executive session earlier at 6:30 to conduct contract negotiations with one of our unions. And now we're in open session. First item on our agenda is to discuss the town coordinator and financial director position. Would anybody like to take the ball and go with that?
Well, there's, do we want to deal with one versus the other first? Or
Yeah.
Let's start with.
Well, we have a guest here, someone here, right?
Yes, to discuss the town coordinator.
Okay. Richard, you want to come on up and join us?
It's the testimony chair.
Yes. So this is probably a couple different discussions. One, to some extent, talk about the town coordinator position as it pertains to potential ATM warrant. But the second piece was just looking at town coordinator position, and this I contacted Mr. Robinson basically coming out of the CFO discussion. You know, the idea of, we're looking at the CFO position and saying, can we test drive it? Richard's name came up as somebody who might give us some perspective on what a town coordinator position could be, value to the town. So I started thinking that perhaps he might actually be somebody to come in and help us and look and assess to some extent our current structure and help us move forward if we decide to in this path, whether it's in the role of some level of support in terms of working with Diane to understand the structure, whether that is helping us with maybe a search committee if in fact we found that we approved the position, we found funding for the position and we wanted to execute against the position. Just give us some general perspective on it, because I think, one thing I'm lacking is I've got an idea, but, I don't know what I don't know. So I think somebody who brings experience could give us some of that perspective. So I invited Mr. Robinson here tonight to start that discussion and see how we want to proceed. And I guess what I would ask then is, Richard, if you want to just give us, I know we've spoken a couple times, if you want to just give Lonnie and Mike an idea of your background and your thoughts, that'd be very helpful.
Looks pretty extensive.
It is. I have been in local government and city management since 1972. Began my career after military, after I'd worked in the private sector for a while, and after I successfully completed the master's program, and then went right into city management and began with the specialties were budget, personnel, and purchasing as an assistant manager, and then worked my way up to become a city manager. The last 10, 12 years of my career I spent doing what I had done in the United States out of country in other parts of the world, and trying to take that expertise and help particularly in some of the war areas, trying to create local government and helping them actually establish it, put the laws in place, doing exactly what you're talking about. What do we need to do to assess what we have? What do we need to, what kind of decisions do we need to make on where we want to go? And then how would we implement that, and what type of steps do we need to take? I retired 2010, 2011, because I've done some small things in between, but basically have retired from full-time work and spend my time now volunteering and doing other things.
And
in
enjoying life a little bit.
I am,
Good.
though I miss the work. I don't miss Afghanistan, but I do miss some of the other places I've worked, so.
I can't imagine that Iraq was probably too.
Iraq was not so bad.
Really?
I was in the northern part of the country. I hated Baghdad and got stuck going there way too much. But most of my work was out of Kirkuk and then in the northern part of the country. So it wasn't nearly as bad as we think of it from the media.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
You have, as I understand it, you eliminated the position about, well, you did and you didn't, but you eliminated the position about a year ago, and your police chief has been acting as the town coordinator, or probably as your liaison between the departments and the employees on your behalf.
Well, yeah, we realize that we need, because this is basically a part-time position.
I understand.
And we have an operational budget of $12 million plus, and we've got employees, and somebody's got to be able to answer questions and get information back to the Board of Selectmen. So Chief of Police, our Public Safety Director, volunteered to help out. So he's not, doesn't really have all the, for lack of a better term, the powers of what a actual town coordinator or town manager would have, but he's, again, helping out.
Okay.
And that's what we do here in town, help out.
I am very, very familiar with local governance in Massachusetts and town government, and did work in Massachusetts. Was the chief administrative officer of Newton. In fact, that was my last city manager job before I went into international work. And also happened to live with somebody who is working in local government in Massachusetts in the next town over. So I do know what volunteers mean to keeping local government or making local government happen in the town form of government.
It's actually the staple of
it wouldn't work without it.
Right.
It's not truly a representative government, if you will, because of the town meeting and the way that the business is conducted through the town meeting. On other states that I've worked in, I don't, stop me at any time if you think I'm lecturing. In other states, you have different, and in Newton, in fact, you have different enabling legislation that is, that went to the legislature of the Commonwealth, and then they approved it, and it comes back, and it's embodied in their charter, and then in their laws. Whereas under your form right now, and even the town manager, it would take some special legislation, and then it would have to be embodied in the bylaws. And I don't know which way you want to go, because really you're starting afresh. You're going to have to, as I see it, the steps that I would be looking at if I were helping you out with this would be to do a full assessment of what was, what is, and then of what you want to be, and what and come up with then the necessary individual items that have to be addressed to become what you want to be, and then put together a action plan and charts for when those things would happen, and whether it could be done. I mean, if you're in your budget process right now, your town meeting, what, May?
May.
The annual town meeting is in May.
Is May. So I don't think you have time to get it ready for a warrant item for the annual town meeting. It might be a little too ambitious unless you just want to take a temporary step. But if you want to do it fully, then that's kind of the program that I think would be necessary to do this.
Well, I think we're in agreement that we want to get the ball rolling.
Okay.
And
that's important.
To get it going, and like you say, it's to try to get it ready for a quick decision is pretty aggressive, and my experience tells us no matter what you do, if you do it quickly and in haste, you're gonna forget something or worse. So I think we're on the right track.
And no matter what you do, somebody's going to like it and somebody's not going to like it so much. So you want to, from my experience, spend it, particularly doing some of this in Bosnia, was making sure that all the sides are at least talking to one another. And while they may not come up with a full consensus, they will not, in their case, they would not throw bombs at each other because they didn't agree with it.
Right. Well, I guess to get rolling is, yeah, how do we're going to consider this a fresh start. So how would we get the ball rolling?
That's an interesting question to ask first time we meet. I'm not sure I can give you an answer to that directly. It's something I would certainly want to think about if it's involving me. And if it's me telling you now what I think the steps are, is that you do select somebody to help you to work with this, who is outside of the town, who can work with the committees that you've already had established, assess what those reports were, learn how they came about making their decisions and giving the report to you. You kind of get a feel of the land, of what is in place, what isn't in place, and what might be necessary. Probably the most critical piece of all of that is interviews with you as individuals and as a collective body, find out exactly what it is you want to do and to develop that consensus, because from that you're going to build your roadmap of how you're going to move forward, what you're going to call the job, what powers that job is going to have, what authorities would be delegated to that person or to that job. So you have to look at your finances, as I understand it, not so much for financing this or paying for it, as much as how do you want to restructure your financial organization, because as I understand from the local papers, you had to replace the treasurer collector, and I believe you have a new town accountant, or...
No, we have, our town accountant's been with us for over 20 years.
Okay, so you have a...
And doing a fine job, I might say.
Okay. She's sitting behind you. Hi, town accountant.
This is Claudia, she's our town accountant.
But that has to be weighed.
Sure.
I've also served in my career as a finance director. I was finance director in Bridgeport, Connecticut, and I was finance director in Hartford, Connecticut, and assistant finance director in Cleveland, Ohio. So I'm very, very well versed in finance, and would want to look at how you incorporate that into the town administration position as well as the financial structure, so that they are working together. It's not uncommon in smaller communities that your town administrator or your town coordinator also serves as your chief financial officer, reliant upon the town accountant, which has many powers in the Commonwealth law, and your assessor collector, which has many powers in that law. And there's talk going on in the Commonwealth now about whether, and many towns are doing it, professionalizing some of those positions with bylaw changes and legislative action as necessary.
Well, I believe we have all the right ingredients.
Pieces.
Again, our principal assessor is in the audience, and she's also been a member of the organization for 20 years plus. And again, you don't stay here 20 years because you tell funny jokes. You stay here 20 years because you do. Yes, it does help. But you stay here like with any job because you get the job done.
Exactly.
So I believe we have all the
Okay.
ingredients. Now let's make something.
You want to make something from it?
Go right ahead.
in terms of, I love the outline you provided in terms of a direction to move ahead, and it makes a lot of sense. What sort of timeline would you normally put against that soup to nuts approach that you laid out in terms of the assessment, the interviews, the laying out the plan and the execution?
That's would be totally shooting from the hip right now because I haven't done any assessment of what is here.
Now, in terms of
I'm going to say 6 months.
Okay.
And that's certainly not full-time. That's just 6 months of activities because you're dealing with volunteers, you're dealing with part-time individuals, and your schedules are different than, say, the person who is doing the assessing, so that it means probably night meetings or weekend meetings or Saturday morning at the coffee shop and just going over things. But,
and just ballpark was I was looking for.
You're talking about 6 months, I think, easily that. And then the development, I think it would be best to shoot for getting it ready for either a regular annual town meeting next year or a special town meeting, which is something that I've seen done too, because a lot of times communities, when they are making this kind of change, they want to do it in a special format because it gets more attention and there's nothing else on the agenda to distract and take away from it, and you may want to consider that.
Yeah, I mean, from my standpoint, it's sooner than later because our interim support is stepping down May 1st. I understand what I think due diligence makes a lot of sense in terms of laying out, especially where I think we would need to make the case to some extent as to why it's important, which can't be lost on us in terms of the value of the position. I mean, I think there's a big opportunity cost not having it, whether that's, exploring, grants, and just keeping up on, Mass General Law and what's coming down the road.
From my experiences throughout the world, and then now seeing them here in Massachusetts, these are tough times. And there are lots of opportunities to enhance revenues for communities, but people have to be on top of it.
Right.
And the organizational structures that are existent in small local town governments everything is diffused. There is no central coordination. And I think that's what has to be one of the goals that you want to achieve by recreating this position or something similar, so that you all are having a central coordinator doing the work of the town on your behalf and coordinating with all the departments that exist and all the directly electeds that exist and all those positions and pulling them together so it's one team working together. The problem or the dilemma you have coming up right now is what to do in the interim period while you move along to try to do this in a deliberate and very controlled fashion.
Right.
And I believe that a number of other communities in the area are hiring interim managers or seeking interim people to come in and do this. You could perhaps look at that as that interim person would be hired, you would delegate through some type of formal action of the board at an open meeting the activities that you want that person to engage in, put them memorialize them either in a contract or into a job description, and then have that person do it and probably and maybe even do the assessment or coordinate that for you and take the leadership role in that on your behalf. I see that as one solution. I mean, that's off the top of my head. I did not expect you to ask a question like that.
Well, we tend to get right to the point. Lonnie, have you got any questions?
Did we ever adopt the chapter
We did.
40 at the September
we did
town
that
meeting?
in November.
So what that allows us to do is just pass off some duties to a town coordinator if we stayed with that model. You had brought up earlier when we first met about what the town coordinator search committee had gone through and done. I do have the the
Good.
documents from them. It was, the final outcome was more along the lines of, should we adopt that chapter 40 that we did, and also the differences between town coordinator, town manager, town executive secretary, all the different names that
Town
there was.
coordinator, town manager, and town administrator, I believe, are the three formal titles that the Commonwealth recognizes.
So, right, so I think that the goal that we all kind of had in mind was the town manager route and making the adjustment. Am I safe to say that?
I think so.
Okay.
Am I?
Sure.
Okay. I
Did the
think,
committee support that?
I'd have to.
Offhand?
Yeah, I believe, yeah.
Our town accountant was
Yeah,
on.
Claudia was on there.
Okay, so that's good to know. So that basically is the starting point, which makes whoever is working on this with you and for you, that gives you a way, a goal. That's going to be the roadmap, because that's kind of going to be the destination you want to get to, and then you're going to work things along how you can best get to that and how you would best do it.
Okay. I think that my other question would be, based upon what you had mentioned in regards to an interim town manager or an interim person in the position of the selectman's office until that time, is that something you'd be interested in? Again, I don't.
We're not bashful, are we?
Let me.
Yes, I would be.
Let me back up.
I think there's a challenge here
Well,
to
you're absolutely right. This is a challenge.
try to bring the pieces together, and that there's a goodwill here to want that to happen.
Right.
So the answer is yes. Without that, I would say absolutely not.
Okay, thank you. I ask only because one may almost go with the other, if you were to assist us to do this path that, either with your extensive experience, what you can bring to the table while you're, if all this was to come together, I suppose we need to probably formalize this in a different way, but I think that it would make the most sense, especially if it was a 6-month time period that we're talking about, 6 to 10 months, say, that you would need to help us to put this together. The support that we do gain right now, obviously the public safety director is the person that is in that position acting, but and I'm not taking away anything from the chief because
Is he here?
Because he's not
I
here.
didn't see anybody with a gun.
Is that Diane it carries the load out of that office at this moment. And
She's the brains of the operation.
yeah, I don't know, the chief is there to answer some questions that we may not be able to answer, diffuse situations which we really don't have many, or any, I should say. So at this point, I think that, again, a lot of what's being done is Diane taking that load and running with it. So as far as, like, even if you weren't available to do it, I think that at this stage of the game, if the chief was to step back from that position, that if we're talking a 6-month time frame, 6 to 10 months, that we might have to run with that office being empty.
Let me ask you a direct question. Is he prepared to step back from that position and to turn that over to somebody else? And,
He's made it very clear.
Yeah.
that there's stepping back, and then there is relinquishing it to
would be
somebody else. So,
It would be,
Step back and relinquish.
walk away.
Yeah. Again,
Other department heads, how do they feel comfortable? It's nice to hear from the accountant that she was on the committee. The assessor's office,
The treasurer collector's office is here as well.
collectors, do they feel like this is something that they want to see occur, or is there going to be friction?
I
I'm
think.
trying to anticipate what
right.
they're going to be there.
Which is the next step, if you're interested.
If I
I
had
know
to,
where you're going.
if I had to shoot from the hip, I would say that everybody's on board
Okay.
for this position.
I
And
think we've all worked very well together, and we will continue to do so.
right, and even during the absence of a town administrator in that position, everybody has worked together, and even during the financial downturn that we did have, everybody stepped up and helped each other out when we were
That's
short
great.
people. This town is pretty close as far as keeping the ship running, so.
That's good to know.
Everybody's, it was instrumental in keeping things alive around here. Nobody wanted to see it go down. So there was a couple of years that was very tight, last couple of years, and I keep bringing up, we're in the rebuild process now, and this is one of the pieces that needs to be rebuilt. And I think that everybody is on board. If anybody is anything different as far as putting somebody in this position, then, tell me I'm wrong, but I think everybody's on board for it.
Well, 3 to 6 months is certainly a doable time frame. And I think, whether I do it or somebody else does it, it does not have to be full-time unless that is something you're insistent on. I certainly wouldn't want to work full-time. Just,
We understand it.
okay.
Again,
I volunteer for hospice now, and I am running for the Board of Health position in Upton.
Sure.
Something I've never done. I've always been on the other side, so.
Yeah. Well, again, I'm going to restate it. We want to get the ball rolling.
Okay,
And we're interested, everybody's in agreement, we're interested in going this route
okay.
to make everyone's life easier and to benefit the citizens of the town.
Oh, yeah.
And that's the bottom line there.
Yeah, I think to me, the bottom line, and I would be the first one to tell you if I saw it, that, no, this is not going to work, and it's just going to cost you money and aggravation, to tell you,
Right.
don't do it. Let's find another solution. But the whole purpose of this exercise, in my opinion, is to help you structure the town to compete better in the 21st century,
Exactly.
so that not only your town administration and the work that you do that's so important to the citizens and the services that you provide, but also you're positioning the town so it can itself grow and
Right.
be a good place for people to live and to want to come to live. So, yeah, I think that structure, this is really a good time for you to look at it. We're coming out of a bad recession, and economic times have improved. I think businesses are starting to
Well,
reinvest. And
Right, they're starting to improve.
there
And
should be
keep
some
going.
money available to do
Well,
it.
we're working towards that. But again, in order to continue to be successful, we can't turn a blind eye and think that we're out of the woods. We're still not out of the woods here.
No.
We're rebuilding, and now is the critical part that we have to be careful where we step.
Okay.
So, again, I'm gonna throw the question back out. What do you need from us to get started? Or what do we have to do to get started, or?
I would either like you to meet and draft a proposal of what you would like, what your expectations were, and what you would like to do, and forward that to me.
Okay.
Or we would meet together and work on something like that, but then to meet afterwards and then iron out the details. And if we're doing it as a group, then I imagine it has to be in open session. Or I guess, it wouldn't be a personnel matter, because it would be, I would not want to be a employee of the town. A 1099 employee to do a project like that, fine. But don't need to be on the town's payroll.
I understand. Well, as we've opened the door, so again, we'll try to put something together, like you say, send it to you, and then meet and discuss it, because, again, we're looking at,
It's only a 15-minute drive from my house here, so I'd be glad to come over and talk to you anytime, or on the phone or email, if you want to ask questions
Sure.
or talk about things. And I'll be thinking about a specific timeline and action steps that would have to be put into a work plan for something like this to happen. And probably be able to give you some timeframes I thought would be necessary in order to collect the information, analyze it, and then bring it back to you and present it to you. in a format that is acceptable.
Right.
As well as then looking at
Right.
the position itself and how, and what you want to do with that and that's why I say you have to come back to me with that, because what do you want this interim person to do? How often? Who they're going to be working with? What kind of powers are they going to have? What duties are they going to have?
What kind of compensation?
Compensation is always good. That's not as motivational anymore for me as just what it is we would be doing, how we're going to be doing it, and who we're going to be doing it with. That's critical.
Yeah.
I had my exercise in futility working in Afghanistan. So Iraq went very well. We accomplished a lot when what I was doing, at least my little piece of the world. But the other, no.
All right. All right.
Does anybody have anything else they want to add? So I think we have a little, again, we've opened the door. We have some things to get ready. And
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I think
Appreciate it.
I think the
Thank you so
ball, I
much.
think the ball is rolling.
Did I tell you it's snowing? It was snowing when I got here, but it wasn't snowing in Upton. I could be wrong.
We turned the heat down. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, what I think this discussion is, where it's led us is that this is kind of a dual position, because we're going to talk about a chief financial officer type of secondary need.
I actually would, if you don't mind coming back up to the table, I would like to hear your input on this. It seems that, again, after reading your resume.
I think it all ties in.
The thing that struck me based on Richard's update was that
Government, it does all the time.
if we look at this proposal, objectives and deliverables, and it unsolicited was, an assessment of current structure and potential future structure, right? I think we even talked about this when we were thinking about going ahead with the CFO, CFO town coordinator. And I think that's sort of what the linkage you're seeing, right? I don't know if it's a dual position, but the scope that you sort of outlined is a little broader than just saying it's a town coordinator. It's more of an assessment of our structure. It's almost similar to what the DOR came in and did in 95 or whenever,
Right,
2005,
05,
05. I think that's why we're seeing I think light bulbs went off.
Okay, so DR did an assessment of
2005.
And
2005?
again, for this part of the discussion, we've been discussing a financial director / CFO position. The town accountant we had posted a job description, or draft job description that we have, and looking for some people that may want to volunteer to help us to, I can get you an electronic
Test
copy of
drive.
that. To test drive the position, and the town accountant actually had said that she would be interested in taking the position. We haven't acted upon anything yet. There's been, a lot of back and forth in regards to how do we properly do this. And the first thing that kind of came into my mind when I saw your resume was that if we're looking at the town manager's position or the path that we're going to go in that office, that this may be something that would be looked at under the same kind of light, because again, it's such a major change for the current way that we do business here.
Almost the same steps pertain to this as to the town administrator, town manager position, in that you need to do the assessment of what is and a decision of what you want it to be. It is not uncommon in the city management profession, in smaller towns especially, in smaller cities, that they seek a town administrator, a town manager, who also comes to the table with financial background And then that position carries both titles, the title of town manager and / finance director. Some of the larger cities put the finance director, they make that the assistant town manager, or the assistant city manager is the finance director. And that incorporates the overall picture and policy development on finance in the one location. It does not change, though, then the fact that you have the assessor's operation and the assessor's office. It does not change the fact you have a town accountant, unless you're changing your bylaws and going to a charter, and treasurer, collector, assessor, town accountant, those 3 positions. The reason you have to have those 3 anyway, for no other reason, is to have a clear audit trail. You have to have auditability. And to try to put too much together in trying to save money can sometimes cost you a lot more money, because things don't happen the way they should. There are no checks and balances in place. It doesn't have to be because people have ill will. It just happens because there are no checks and balances. You don't have people looking at each other's work. You well know. So they're critical positions. I would say you might want to look at that under the same time frame and look at them both together. And if we are doing this together, and I'm working with you and for you to do that, then I certainly bring that to the table. I have done that reorganization and restructuring. The last time I did it was in Amman, Jordan. The firm I was working for, we got hired to look at their total operation, and the mayor, who was directly appointed by the king, gave me a blank table to work with, just tablet, just write it out and bring it to me the way you think it should be to get us into the 21st century. And they actually did adopt a city manager, a modified city manager form of government for the operation, and a centralized finance director. And that's what they're working off of now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Financing wasn't a problem, though, I bet, right?
Not as much as here. Taxes are levied a little differently there. Yeah, having said that, we have all seen the Arab Spring, so they do have problems. You do have checks and balances, but they come in a different format. They're more permanent, more final, maybe.
Yeah. Or just checks. All right, thank you again.
Okay, thank you. Are we done, or are you going to talk some more?
No, we're going to discuss building maintenance needs next, so please stay at the table. I mean, with that being said, I think that I would rather go down the path of let's look at these together at the same time. Then.
Yeah.
Would you agree? And I mean, especially when we're going to get the input from, again, Richard's resume. If I could post this up to you, I mean, it's literally 8 or 9 pages here of, a lot of words, you know, a lot of all municipal items and the way that government's
Right.
managed.
Well, again, when you take a look at your resume, you can tell you're not a kid that just stepped out on the block. You've been around the block a few times. And again, what we need is experience looking at it. We can't be guessing. It's too important to be guessing. So I think we should start putting together some information for them. Again, the last report from the committee that Claudia served on with Joe Cronin, maybe that 05 report, similar.
I think long-range financial documentation, the policies document. But I also think we owe Richard a proposal before we get too far out in front of, out over our skis. So, and I think that proposal would consist of basically, objectives, expected deliverables, some sense of scope if we're going to pull the CFO assessment into a town coordinator assessment. We generally are fairly brief in our documentation, so maybe we put a framework together and we could have a further conversation to expand upon it, you know, in an upcoming meeting. I think that's probably the first step, and the other documents are all public documents anyway, so if you're curious, we can certainly send them along.
Well, I would suggest that we do send them along, that way they're,
I'm
Yes.
curious and am willing
Are
to
these them?
propose, pro bono about that. Just
Are those
send them
them?
along because I'd
Can you
like
just
to
look at
know
them?
what I'm getting into.
Do you have,
Minefields are not fun.
do you have a list of items that you'd like to see?
I think we
To
have
get
the 2005 DOR report. We've got the long-range financial planning committee, policy procedure, and probably PowerPoint, and the role, the town coordinator committee recommendation, job description to start.
right, the stuff that we've had and stuff that we use to,
That went way too fast.
I got it.
You got it?
that's, we have a.
Did you email that?
We have a, we have a secretary now. Again, we send them the information that we were using to get us to this point with a little history of how we got to this point.
That would be great.
You know, so you get a little bit of history too. That way there he can also think about compensation. I mean, I'm not quite sure.
I was trying to avoid that whole topic. You guys brought it up. I
Well,
was,
you know, again, we go right to the point.
Yeah, if it's gonna cost $100,000, we might have to rethink it.
Right, I'm certainly not bashful enough to say, if you're volunteering your time, great, but I'm also not naive enough to think that you're gonna put a lot of work into something for nothing, even though you are retired, and, like you say, money is not the motivator.
I don't live in Mendon. I'm not volunteering in Mendon.
So,
I don't mean to be crude about it.
no, that's,
I'm glad to give you time and
Yeah.
would be glad to do this. I mean, if you, gosh, I was making $1,000 a day. I don't expect that to be paid here,
right.
so
So we're,
I understand.
you understand what I'm getting at, right? You know what I mean? We wanna be,
And
what we always try to do is to be fair and equitable,
exactly.
all the time. Because that's how I want to be treated and my fellow selectmen. Rich, you have a question?
Would this replace, this is not gonna replace us moving forward to put a special town meeting article on to try to do this permanently, right?
annual town meeting?
Yeah, sorry, annual town.
You talking about the cost for it?
I was gonna bring that up. I don't think it can. I mean, I think we've got to, if it's 3 to 6 months, say we start,
What the hit?
well, I mean, if it's 3 to 6 months, just trying to the point of saying this is the role, this is the structure, we now need to execute against it. We need to have some level of funding for it, even if it's, you know, in the next fiscal year, I would think.
So you're saying you don't think we can't not put it on? In other words.
That's where my head's at.
We're gonna put it on the annual town meeting.
Okay,
That's my
We're
opinion.
gonna go forward in that direction too.
okay, good.
You mean for the
We're
funding?
rolling, Rich.
I'm sorry,
We're rolling
for-
forward.
For the funding, Rich?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that the funds are probably gonna be generally in the area of what of what we're looking for, no matter which route you go. Whether it be a town manager.
Okay, so if I understood that conversation correctly.
Yes.
It provides us a transition from where we're at right now to there, because Ernie said May 1st, I got
Right.
it done anyway, right?
Right.
Okay, got it. Okay, thanks.
I think the specifics there in terms of the transition has to be part of the proposal, and it would have to be accepted.
Let me suggest that for purposes, if you want to move ahead that fast, town meeting's coming up in May. You were looking at possibility of funding a coordinator or some position. So that's going to be, you're going to have a budget for that. And you can use that as your line item to make this go forward. But you do it more as you're going, as a contract or a something along those lines,
See what you're saying?
personal services contract or something of that nature, and that the funding would be used for that to bring this back to the body and bring it back to a town meeting later on for an official, formal vote to finalize it.
Mhm.
That in the meantime, the work will be done according to the documents that you prepare and we both sign, that engages me or somebody else.
Right. Sure,
There are other people around who can do this.
the funding that Mrs. Schofield is talking about is we were looking to fund, we don't have that position, we don't have
It's
it.
not funded now.
It's not funded right now.
Through the police department.
The funding, so what we were doing was we were looking for an override at this annual town meeting to override the amount of money that we think that position needs.
If the town has hopes of moving forward with a position or a change like this, it cannot be done on an override basis, because if an override fails, then what do you do for you don't have a local government anymore. It's negated because it's unfunded.
Right, but it's unfunded at the moment.
Override, unless you're using the terms you want to add an extra amount to the tax bill.
Yes.
In the form of an override that's going to be permanent for the funding of.
That's exactly.
That's what we're talking about.
It may be premature to do it now in this town meeting because you're not sure yet what your outcome is going to be. That's what we were talking about. You're looking at 3 to 6 months to develop the whole plan, so that when that comes out, then maybe you want to go at that time to your town meeting when you're making this a permanent job. Put the funding out there too.
So the only problem that poses is that we would either have to wait till the next ballot, because when you're asking for the money in the override, we need to have a special town meeting and then a ballot to ratify it. So we would either have to spend the money to have another ballot just for that item, or wait till the next annual.
Rich?
So I guess my concern here is, and look, if you want to take a different approach or whatever, that's fine, but I want to make sure it's crystal clear that the committee that you convened to do this research did a thorough job of the research, made a thorough plan, created a timeline. We're not moving anything fast. I have a problem with moving ahead that fast. That terminology is just not true, because we provided information. I helped the committee in some of it too. Provided information to indicate, what the process would look like, how long it would take, what the job description was, et cetera, right? So it's a matter of executing on that. Now, it may be that there's some tweaks and et cetera that occur from a temporary, interim process between when the chief stops and the new person eventually full-time or part-time, however it turns out stops. But I think the pieces are mostly there. The framework pieces are mostly there to get it done. I don't think doing it this annual town meeting is by any means fast.
And the only thing I would say is from it might be a relative statement in terms of moving ahead fast. If Richard doesn't understand the work that's been done at this time and he thinks he's starting from scratch, it might seem fast.
Exactly.
But there's a couple things here. I mean, I understand Richard's perspective on timing, but I also think that even if we went for an interim position, right, we still need funding for that. So right now, we've got a balanced budget that does not have any funding. I would expect we still want to pursue some level of funding in that line item, that if we need to reallocate through an STM, we need to secure funding for that role, because that role probably would be on mid-year fiscal, what was it, 15, 14?
14 coming up.
Next year, you know what I'm talking about. So I think it's more of, it's challenging from a timing perspective. I would think we still need to look to go ahead and secure funding
Oh, yes.
in some way, shape, or form on this ballot. I would even say we put a placeholder article. We can always pass over if things happen between now and May 3rd that we say this is not the right time. But I personally don't want to miss the opportunity, and I think we need to secure it and understand, because if it doesn't go in the ATM, that still doesn't preclude us from going again in an STM in the fall, you know, if we get more information. I mean, from my perspective, this is a having this position filled in some way, shape, or form in the next fiscal year is a must for the town. We want to be as diligent as possible in understanding what the best structure for the town is going to be and how those positions work together. We just need to make sure we have some level of funding available when we choose to execute, or when the voters approve our execution plan. I think that's the focus on the ATM, you know.
And again, just to reiterate, that's why I'm looking to send any and all information to Richard so he can get up to speed. Because right now, you don't have a clue on what's been done.
Well, I have some clues.
Yeah, right.
I read the newspapers.
Right, but you can't always, you can't always believe what you read. Rich,
I
go
think I
ahead.
might have some additional documentation too, that I think it might help too, so I'll forward it to you, Diane, to provide, okay?
That's great. Again, as you can see, we're looking to go forward, and we're looking to, you're looking to help us, so we want to make sure we give you everything you could possibly need to be successful in helping us.
I mean, it probably sounds corny, but part of the reason I got into local government, in fact, it was the reason, was because I thought that local government is the closest thing to the people, and that there is a responsibility for it to be good and honest and capable.
That's right.
And dealing with people's needs.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, again, we've got the ball rolling, and it's just starting to turn, so.
I'll wait to hear from you.
All righty, you'll be hearing from us real
Thank
soon.
you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Do you have that job description for us? Let's see if I want to keep that. Okay. That was actually, I thought that was
It's quite a resume.
productive. Yeah. Again, experience is what.
Yep.
All righty, next on the agenda is to discuss the building maintenance needs with the capital planning committee. And I see we have
We have the capital.
two of the members here. Would you mind coming up to join us? You? How you doing, Richard?
Good, how are you?
Not too bad.
Kevin Rich.
Oh, hi, Lonnie.
We have received word that the third member, something's come up in his life where he cannot spend the time that's needed on the committee. So to start with, anybody interested in giving us some time, giving the town some time on the capital planning committee, please contact the selectman's office.
So, can I interject a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely.
In speaking with in having some communication with the town clerk, she does not have a formal letter of resignation from Deb Lane.
Okay.
It is a 5-member committee. I believe the way the bylaw is written is they like to see one of the members be a member of FinCom.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, I'd like to see at least 2 more people be appointed if at all possible. We can get functioning with 1 more, as long as a member of FinCom is with us. But I'd like that 4th person in the event if somebody's out sick.
Sure.
Somebody can't make a meeting.
All right.
You know, we're not lacking quorum, and we can move forward with any type of meetings and postings that we have.
Mm-hmm.
The last time we met was about 1.5 years, 2 years ago. So the report you have is probably not very accurate anymore. The last report, just being attentive, I know that a lot of the needs, many of the needs that were out there a couple of years ago have been met. with funding from various locations, stabilization, free cash, debt exclusions, whatnot. I know our highway supervisor probably has a whole new list of needs, and along with the rest of the departments in town. So I think it would be constructive for the capital planning committee to get together, re-interview all the departments, and make a new fresh list of what the needs are.
That's a good place to start.
So really from the Board of Selectmen, you know, in the immediate future, I need at least one more member and preferably two.
Well, I think we'll actively seek some people that...
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, is there anything that would bar more than one FinCom
No,
representative to be on?
I don't think so. Yeah, I believe it's an important function that the town should continue to follow up on, you know.
Are there any critical items that you know of that is you know, prompting this discussion today?
Well, there's a bylaw that says we have to have a capital planning committee. And what I'm concerned with is the fact that right now we're in violation of the bylaw. Okay. And if no one's shown any interest in it, then the duties of the capital planning committee, which you've pretty much outlined, like I said, it's a good start, would naturally fall back to the finance committee, because in my opinion, the finance committee is a big part of capital need, because it's got to come before.
Sure.
So having more than one FinCom member on it wouldn't be detrimental at all. But if that's the case, if we can't get interest in it, then let's get rid of the bylaw.
Yep.
Why have something that nobody wants and nobody's using, you know?
Mr. Chairman, I just want to add a little bit to that. I think it was also, Mr. LaRue, we also, I think part of it came up as well that, you know, we're thinking very creatively with some of the money we have. We're trying to stick to some of the recommendations of the Long Range Financial Planning Committee, and when you know, and getting creative, we've been able to free up a little bit of money here, a little bit of money there, and while we may not be able to do a big project, we should be able to make some small improvements that might make a big difference. I mean, even just in some of the issues with the buildings in town and et cetera, we can find a little bit here, a little bit there to do something with. And so I think part of how it came up from our side was just that, you know, we do a lot of work on the budget. We don't have time to kind of prioritize what needs to get done. So wouldn't it be nice if we could kind of have a committee that looks at that and then tells us, you know, what the top things are, and we prioritize by not only need, but also by how much they cost, and maybe get some of the smaller marbles done first, and then as we get more money, we might do some of the bigger ones, you know. So just
Sure.
a group to work with to get that done.
Sure. You know, in our last operating cycle that we had a group and we were meeting, we were fortunate enough to have numbers that FinCom, you know, wasn't always there. You know, we were able to be productive and have meetings. I know FinCom meets a lot. I mean, just with their own obligations, they're probably meeting 30, 35 times a year at a base minimum. And when capital planning gets into it, it's probably going to be a good 12-week process, meeting once a week for 12 weeks. So it's going to take a lot of commitment, especially if you're asking members of FinCom to double down on what they're already doing to be part of that, and thus that's why I'm recommending if the board could try to get that fourth member, that would be detrimental.
Diane?
One of the other things that came up was the insurance company did a loss control recommendation report, and some of the things were, for instance, some carpeting that was worn, it could be a risk if someone were to fall and hurt themselves. There's some cracks outside in the sidewalk and on the ramp. So that's another reason why the maintenance has to be looked at.
Okay.
Well, I
think
down the
right.
road if we don't
Yeah, I mean, a
maintain.
couple items came up just in our quarterly review.
Sure.
I know in the fire department, I think, didn't Mike or the chief must have brought up the flooring's coming up, things like that.
That was
Yeah,
fine.
yeah, we did hear that, yeah.
What I'm envisioning, to use the word restructure the committee isn't quite right, but I would like to see the committee get a little bit more involved with, again, figuring out, utilizing money at hand, or opportunities for money in hand. Again, a perfect example is CPA funds. Why should it be just left to the CPA to figure out what kind of a capital need is there?
Sure.
You know what I mean? That money's available. You really don't need anybody to tell you. You can, you know what I'm saying, and go, well,
Absolutely.
why can't we utilize this money here? That fits into the criteria.
Yep.
You know, again, trying to think outside the box a little bit and utilize all our resources. You know,
If perhaps you could, post something on the website and ask our local papers to put a notice that we're looking for active members, and, if we could get busy looking for members, I'm sure we can make some progress.
all right, well, we have the two best newspapers in the community right here. So I think they got the word, and I'll try to get the word to our local radio station, and we'll go on a campaign to get some members, because, again, I think I don't really want to use the term, but I'm going to use it, restructure the committee a little bit, think outside the box. In reality, it could be exciting, you know.
In the past, I think that with some issues, I think Mr. LaRue would probably agree that just trying to have the CapEx committee working with the finance committee, I don't think it went all that well. In numerous, there's a few meetings I was at that, but I think that you'd find that this current FinCom would be very excited about that, and work closely and work as hard as we can to try to find, money to be able to do the things that they might recommend. Right. And one other thing I just want to throw in there, and Diane made a really good point there before about the insurance loss, because the ADA report falls right into the same bucket, right? And we haven't even got a chance to look at that. I don't think any of us, I haven't read it, I don't know if you have, Willem, but I just haven't even read the document yet, unfortunately, and there's a lot of great work done by the guys and Kevin and folks, and it's got to be acted on, and we just don't have time to do all of that.
Which, again, all of that is capital improvement.
Correct, yeah.
So, again, all the ingredients are there. Let's see if we can make something.
Okay.
I just like the way Rich keeps talking about finding money. That's wonderful.
Just talking about getting creative, Michael.
Rich, I appreciate you
No problem.
Thank you.
wanting to stay involved.
Yeah, no, but,
on that.
Bill, put the racetrack in front of me, I'll run with it.
Yeah,
Sure, no problem.
good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
guys.
Okay, next on the agenda is we're meeting with the Hampshire Council. Is anybody here? Come on up and introduce yourself, please.
Good evening. My name is Anne-Renee LaRouche. I'm with the Hampshire Council of Governments. I'm their energy specialist.
Do
And,
you happen to have a business card that you
Yes,
can?
I do. Actually, I'm going to have handouts and
Oh,
I have
terrific.
at the end with business cards. And I'm here to speak about our municipal aggregation program. And it's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for inviting me. So generally, just want to mention that a municipal aggregation is a process that enables small electricity consumers, customers to benefit from bulk purchasing of electricity and the resulting lower costs of electricity. And municipal aggregation is really to benefit, or it serves small customers, as I said, like residents and small businesses primarily. And the reason why I'm here speaking with you is that in order for your residents and small businesses to benefit from this program, you will have to sign a contract with us. So it requires the signature of the Board of Selectmen. A couple of things that I want to mention about municipal aggregation. I mean, our program is that there is no cost involved for the town of Mendon. So, you know, it's a zero impact on your budget. And
Well, that's a plus.
yes, that is a plus. I'm aware, and that's why I'm saying it. And also, if you choose to move forward, the program will be available to all, but no individual resident or a small business will be obligated. So there's no obligation to participate, even though it's available to everybody. So in terms of the other things I want to talk about, I have an outline here. I'd like to give you some background about the Hampshire Council of Governments, some context and background about municipal aggregation in general, some details about our program, and then steps you need to take to implement. And then, as I said, I have some handouts. So the Hampshire Council of Governments was created when the county governments were abolished.
Right.
And so, so the towns at the time, the towns and cities of Hampshire County decided that they wanted to continue to provide services, and that's how that came about. Even though we're called the Hampshire Council of Governments, we're not restricted to Hampshire County. Hampshire County, we can, you know, do business in all of Massachusetts. And we're a unique government entity in that we don't have access to any kind of tax funds. And we are a government entity that serves municipalities primarily, and several members of our department, anyway, the electricity department, are municipal officials. Ken Elstein, who's our municipal aggregation specialist, he's a selectman in the town of Belchertown. Our director of electricity is also a selectman in the town of Conway. And Jeff Rogers, who is our responsible for sales and brokerage of our electricity, he was a town administrator for many years. So, you know, we understand municipalities and, so the services that we provide a variety of services, and electricity is just one of them. But just to give you an idea, we have the Hampshire County Group Insurance Trust that serves over 3,600 employees and their families, and we're proud that we haven't raised our rates in 3 years on health insurance. We offer group purchasing of more than 100 items, from road salt to asphalt to fuel oil to school supplies, and ice cream for senior centers, just a variety of things. We have a wellness program that has tobacco prevention and cessation program and osteoporosis, a variety of things. And then our electricity program department, where we've been supplying electricity to municipalities primarily, but also nonprofits, and we have one state agency that buys electricity from us. And recently we did a calculation, and since we started in 2006, we had saved our customers $2.1 million in electricity. We also have a number of programs to help cut costs of electricity costs, and then and also offer green products for electricity. So we have our municipal aggregation I'm talking to you about tonight, and also our newest program called Hampshire Solar. So Regarding municipal aggregation, as I mentioned before, and I want to emphasize that there is no cost to the municipality. And I know a lot of people come with ideas, and oftentimes there's a price tag attached to that. But in terms of municipal aggregation, there is really absolutely no cost to the town of Mendon. And also want to emphasize that if you do decide to move ahead, there is no obligation for anybody to participate. There will be an opportunity to opt out, and that is a requirement under Massachusetts general law. So that's how it works. So municipal aggregation is the result of deregulation of the electricity market that took place in the late 90s. And it's similar to, in a way, to the phone market deregulation that also happened in the 90s, and the reason for that was to provide more choice, competition, and lower prices. And in the phone industry, you know, I think it worked. They started with long distance and went into local, and then there's been a lot of advertising. And generally speaking, people are very aware of their options, but that hasn't been true for electricity. But the electricity market was deregulated for similar reasons, you know, to provide more choice, foster competition, and provide lower prices. You might know, but if you look at your electricity bill, there's two parts to the bill. One is for supply and one delivery. And as a result of deregulation, utility companies, and in this case National Grid, is only really responsible for delivering electricity. They're not in the business of supplying electricity. And so the consumer is free to choose an alternate supplier. National Grid will then be, if you choose a different supplier, will be responsible for delivering that, you know, that electricity. So big users have taken advantage of this, like, you know, in manufacturing and, you know, big users, but smaller users like residents and small businesses really haven't, as a rule. So municipal aggregation was created to help the smaller consumer take advantage of electricity deregulation by banding together and purchasing electricity in bulk, basically.
Now, when you say National Grid still gets a piece of the pie, whether you buy electricity from this place over
This other
here,
supplier, well, they...
or that supplier, it's still National Grid that's delivering it. Is that correct?
Yes, exactly.
So they, no matter what,
No matter what.
they still get a little piece of
Yes,
that
they
pie.
do, and they've been very cooperative in this entire process, yes. Yeah. So, municipal aggregation is often done town by town. And, you know, one town at a time, and basically aggregating all the residents of that one town. And I think the town of Mendon maybe has close to 6,000 people, am I correct?
Approximately.
Yeah. So rather than to aggregate, you know, each town individually, what the Hampshire Council of Governments has done or is doing is leveraging the buying power of many municipalities. And so at this point, we have 36 towns and cities that have signed contracts with us for municipal aggregation for a total of approximately 150,000 residents. So that's a lot of buying power. And in Worcester County, we have 6 towns that have signed contracts with us, and they are Brookfield, East Brookfield, North Brookfield, West Brookfield, Barry, and New Braintree. And so we would love for Mendon to be the 7th in Worcester County and the 37th
Right.
overall.
We're starting to work this way.
Right, well, we're working this way, exactly. So, as I said, there are requirements, and the requirement for participation would be for, will require a town vote, town meeting vote, to authorize the Board of Selectmen to sign a contract with us. And I brought with me a proposed town meeting warrant motion for municipal aggregation of electricity, which I forwarded to Diane today, but I have like hard copies here for you. And then it would require you signing a contract with us. And I want to mention too that Ken wanted me to make sure to say that, you know, if you'd like him to come, or if he can't come, I could come at town meeting, annual town meeting, to answer questions or anything. We'd be happy to do that. So that's pretty much my presentation, and I'm open to questions.
Well, my first question would be, in the handout that you're going to give us.
Yeah.
You're going to give, that include some comparisons?
What do you mean by comparisons?
Well, presently, what we're paying now to National Grid, let's say.
Right.
And what kind of savings we could see, you follow?
Well, you know, it's sort of a tricky thing because we don't know what the price is going to be until we put it out to bid, and until, you know, and the utility prices vary all the time as well. Every 6 months they go out to bid, and so what we can guarantee though is that the day that you know, we turn on the juice, basically,
Yeah.
the prices that you will pay, your residents will pay, will be lower than the utility price.
Just trying to understand the business model, because we sign a contract.
Yeah.
There's no cost to the town based on signing a contract.
Right.
The citizens don't need to participate,
No.
and we can opt out.
How
does this work?
The citizens can opt out.
Okay, I thought there was an opt-out.
Of the town?
Yeah, I just made a note, when you
Right.
said opt-out, it was
Right.
the individuals.
Individuals can opt out,
Okay,
yes.
so is it a sort of a negative consent, meaning that they're in until they opt out?
Yes. Like, just the same way that, you know, if you don't choose an alternate supplier, you're, by default, National Grid is your supplier. Well, it's similar to that.
What would happen if the majority of Mendon residents opted out? I'm really back to the business model of just how
Well,
this.
then, if the majority, normally the majority does not opt out.
I would
But
assume
if
they
the
wouldn't if it's a lower rate. This is more of a what if, though.
Right, right. If the majority opted out, then you're still working with another 150,000 people. They would benefit from the group purchasing.
And it's a flat rate
this
for
entire
everybody
group.
who is opting in.
Pardon me?
And regardless of if 20% of our residents stayed in,
Right.
they'd get the benefit of the whole, it's a
The
flat
whole
rate
group.
for everybody.
Yeah, yeah. So, you know, my feeling is that you choosing to participate, you're signing a contract, you know, provides your citizens with an additional option,
Sure,
right?
right. Right. Well, again, I understand that part
Yeah.
very clearly.
Right.
Again, what I was looking for is some comparison numbers
Right. It's
of
sort of a,
what's been going on. How long has this, this council been together doing this now, several years?
oh, well, the thing is, we have not been doing it in terms of, we have not turned on the juice. This is before the DPU for approval still. And
I see.
so it's pending, and, you know, we're hoping it'll all happen really soon. So I can't give you a history
I
in
got you.
our case, but it's been done in other places in Massachusetts. And there's the Cape Light Compact that
Yes.
includes a variety of towns, and they've been able to save, you know, people money, and there are individual towns that have done it. Yes.
So you're getting the scale for when the juice does get turned on right now.
You mean in terms of how many people?
Right, this
and-
aggregation basically has not truly started. You've gotten people lined up to participate when it's ready to go.
Exactly.
And is there an
When
ETA
we get our, pardon me?
is there an ETA in terms of when that approval would be completed, I guess?
Well, we're hoping in the next few months, but, you know, until it happens, it's hard to know for sure. But
Well, again, there's no cost to the town.
No, there is no.
So if we decided to sign on
Right,
and you're still in the work in progress,
right.
then we would go into the default mode and continue to use our present.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, right.
Exactly. Uh-huh, right. Go ahead.
We have a question.
Is there any downside to the town or to the residents of the town? Any downside at all?
Well, to the town, I don't see how there would be a downside. To the resident, you know, you can opt out at any time. So if you don't like it, you just opt out. So I don't see how there would be a downside to the resident. And actually, an upside that I haven't mentioned yet is that I noticed that the town of Mendon is a green community.
Yeah.
And we are planning on we are developing a green power option as well as part of our municipal aggregation program that we're calling Hampshire Green. And, well, National Grid currently offers a program called Green Up, and if you buy, you know, for a little extra, you can green your electricity. Well, what we're planning to do is, for a little extra, similar to, you know, the Green Up program, instead of us buying RECs, which are renewable energy certificates, the way that the Green Up program does, what we plan to do is the money collected from this program to turn it over to the town for projects, well, clean energy projects within the town. So that's our business model as far as that, and we're really excited to be able to offer that to municipalities. So if you have renewable energy projects or energy efficiency, this program would be providing funds for that.
We just happen to have in the audience Green Communities
Is that it?
Coordinator.
Yeah,
You got any
great.
questions, Mark, or anything to add to this?
No, I think I was just trying to figure out, you know, the town of Mendon now does have Constellation Energy
Okay,
as our supplier.
For municipal
For the
accounts.
municipal accounts,
Yeah.
right. And so I was looking for maybe what someone in New Braintree is paying versus a resident here, but if it hasn't started yet, I guess
Right.
I can't really see that.
Right.
So
Mhm.
that was what I was thinking
Yeah.
while I was listening.
Would there be any conflict, Mark? If you say we're already committed to someone else?
Right, so the town accounts are signed on for 3 years. I think we're getting into the second year with that contract, so
Right.
would that interfere?
No, that doesn't interfere at all because we're not talking about municipal accounts here. We're talking about your residents
Mm-hmm,
and small businesses that want to participate.
mm-hmm, I see.
So there is no conflict with that.
This almost feels like the Green Communities solar panel opportunity, which was open more to the residents, where they got some opportunities to put panels on their house and so forth, as opposed to,
Talking about,
well, as a green community, the state, you know, there was a,
right,
what was it called, what was the program called?
It was from the Mass CEC, it was Solarized.
oh, solarized, okay.
Right, so I mean, that was open more to the residents and the businesses, not to the municipality in terms of
Right,
the
right.
opportunity. So
Yeah,
it sounds like a
right.
similar program.
Right,
But there was also, I believe, grant money involved with
Well, that
that?
Solarized program was, the residents were, you know, basically pooling together to
Right.
reach different tiers.
oh, I'm
Right.
very familiar with the solarized
Right.
program, yeah. Mhm.
So that was something that, you know, all the residents weren't, you know, into that, like, they weren't getting involved in something
Right,
like this.
right.
It was their own choice to go out, seek that opportunity on their own,
Right, right.
so.
So as long as there's no, I was concerned if there was any conflict, but you've explained that,
Right.
right, there would be no conflict, so we wouldn't be getting in trouble.
No, it wouldn't. Any other questions? I have, as I said, I have some handouts. I have a question and answer sheet and the proposed town meeting warrant motion for municipal aggregation, an editorial here about municipal aggregation, and then some other services that we offer. So I have several copies of these with business cards.
And you said that you or someone from the organization would
We'd be willing to come if you'd like.
to the town meeting to
Yes.
answer any in-depth questions.
Exactly. When is your town meeting? I heard it was in May, but.
Beginning of May.
It's May 3rd.
May 3rd?
Would you also, is there a standard contract that you'd also be able to give us a copy of? Because I would think we'd probably want to understand that before the town meeting.
Sure. I make a note to send you that.
Okay.
Send you that.
Okay. Anything else?
No, I think you've opened the door to this. I think it's, go ahead.
But before she leaves, though, I put an article on the warrant in case you wanted to include that. And if
Very
you
good.
just look at the wording before.
Sure.
Here we go.
Would you mind looking at the wording? Our,
Is it similar
It
to?
is, but
You know, what I would like to do is run it by Ken before I say anything, because he's really our, aggregation specialist.
right, I used the wording you have, but I didn't use the whole thing, because that was the
okay.
motion for the town meeting floor.
Right.
And this is just the motion that's going to appear
So
on the
could you
warrant.
send me this,
Yeah.
and then I'll check with him?
Okay.
Great.
so Diane, you'll stay on top of that? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. I think it's worth considering.
Yeah.
Okay, next on the agenda is sign the April 30th state primary ballot. I'll read it. To either the constables of the town of Mendon, in the name of the Commonwealth, you are hereby required to notify and warn the inhabitants of said town who are qualified to vote in special state primaries to vote at Precinct 1, Misco Hill School Gymnasium, on Tuesday, the 13th day of April, 2013, from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. for the following purpose: to cast their votes in the special state primary for the candidates of political parties for the following office: Senator in Congress for the Commonwealth. Hereof fail not, and make return of the warrant with your doings thereon at the time and place of said voting. Given under our hand this day, this 25th day of March, 2013, the Mendon Board of Selectmen. And when this gets posted, the constable will sign it also. Okay. I believe we gave you the signed copy. Okay, Next on the agenda is discuss the annual town meeting warrant and ballot questions.
Mr. Chairman, that could take some time. Can we jump ahead? I mean, if
Sure.
there's other items that we can knock off and then finish with the warrant?
Sure.
If not everybody's interested in the warrant, they can then leave after.
Were you actually going to discuss the articles on the warrant?
We can.
No, you don't have to understand. I don't know if you wanted to stay for this.
Yeah, I guess we were gonna kinda look at them, and it's the first I've seen of it, so, yeah, we can discuss them or not, whatever.
We could start with Jean's, right, when we get to them.
Sure.
Take Linda. That's the clerical position.
Okay, Linda, come on up. I think it's to, you wanna discuss a clerical position in the treasurer collector's office?
Yes,
Thank you for taking me ahead of time. Lois Callanan has written me a letter requesting that she take 2 months of unpaid, would-be medical leave if she were a full-time person.
In her
But she's a
position?
part-time person, finance clerk in the treasurer's office. So being a part-time person, there are no benefits that automatically get extended to her. But I feel as though it's fair and just to keep that position open for her as long as I can. So what she's asked for 2 months, and I'm going to be writing her a letter, assuming that everything goes well tonight, just indicating that at the end of April, which based upon some conversations that I've had with her is reasonable, for her to give me an idea of what type of a time frame we might be looking at. But I've made arrangements to have most of her hours covered by other people, if it's okay with you. Right now, and I've discussed this unofficially with 2 people, pending an official request from the board, because I can't ask officially. So what I would like is, to get to the bottom line, is for the board to ask Jen Welch to work up to 9 more hours each week. And that would be 3 hours per day in the treasurer's office, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. That would take care of some of the time that we need. Additionally, I would like for you to ask or authorize Sherry Grant to work an additional 6 hours per week in the treasurer's office. And that would get us another distance. Lois works 18 hours right now.
All right, so you're looking to fill 18 hours.
If I could, but the problem is that I don't, based upon my conversations with both Sherry and Jen, that might not be possible.
You're losing 18 hours and you found 9 back.
Yes.
Essentially.
And I'll tell you, I'll be very, very honest. It took me a little bit of time to come to this conclusion, but I truly believe more importantly than anything, that an employee is due some consideration for their work for the town. Lois has worked for the town for quite some time. So it won't be easy, and I'll be willing to pick up the slack. It's only for 2 months. I think we can do it. It won't be easy. I will probably, there may be a day where I have to close the office, absolutely, because there will be nobody there. I'm already looking forward, looking down the line a little ways. I might have to close the office entirely because there won't be anybody there. At a minimum, especially right after tax day, May 1st, I might have to absolutely stick with our posted hours, which are Mondays, we have extended hours, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 10 to 2. Those are our posted hours. We try to stay open as long as somebody's in the office, but right after tax day, I might not be able to do that.
Can you repeat what hours Jen are able to give you?
Jen was 3 hours a day, and what we discussed specifically was 8 o'clock in the morning until 11 o'clock in the morning.
All right, 3 hours a day.
3 hours on Monday, Tuesday,
And
and
Sherry?
Wednesday. Sherry is less official than Jen, but I have asked if Sherry could work Mondays and Wednesdays from 1:30 in the afternoon until 5:30 at night.
And how many?
And then Mondays till 6:30 at night, rather.
So that's,
So,
what's the total, what's it come out to, the total hours a week for you, Jen?
well, bearing in mind that both Jen and Sherry already work some number of hours for other departments.
I'm gonna get to that.
Okay.
That's one of my questions.
All right, but right now, Sherry is an additional 5 hours per week. And Jen is an additional 9 hours per week.
Okay, so you've got one person that you'll be able to get 9 hours a week,
Yep.
and another person that you can get 5.
Remembering that Sherry already works for the treasurer's office 3 or 4 hours a week.
Right, but what I'm trying to look at, you're losing 18.
Yep.
So you've got
And-
9 and 5 is 14, so you're gaining back.
Okay,
Well,
yep.
you're able to fill 14 of those hours. So in reality, you're losing 3 hours. 4 hours, I'm sorry. Okay, now my next question is, how many hours presently is Jen working a week?
Was she doing 19 in parks and 9 in the clerk's office?
Yeah, I think it's 9 for the clerk. We came up to 29. I don't remember how many hours she works for the Parks Department, but it's 9 for the clerk's
It could be
office.
29, it could be 20 in parks and 9, but I think she was probably 19 in parks because she was part-time. And then she got the 9 additional in the clerk's
Well, what
office.
I'm trying to determine is
She's not going OT.
Right, which is why she's at 9. Right.
But the question I have on that particular is the 9 hours in the clerk's office, is any of that potentially reallocated,
right.
right?
That
I mean,
was the
that's a
whole
little floater,
idea.
right?
That was the whole idea.
So you might be able to get, 18, you never know.
Well, I was just kind of hoping for some, I don't want to cut into anybody else's, I was looking for something official, something,
That's what we're gonna try to do, something
okay,
official.
all right. Without cutting into any other office's time, parks or clerk's, office. The most official hours I can,
That's-
is what I got.
I wouldn't expect you to cut into any departments.
Exact-
That's
well,
more for us
thank you.
to figure out, do we want to cut into, that 9 hours? I'm not saying we are, I'm just saying.
Right.
I don't,
Well, what
but she's got a couple
How
elections
many
coming
is
up now.
Sherry working
Yeah.
presently a week? Do you know?
4, she has allocated 4 hours.
Sherry Grant works 4 hours a week for the town of Mendon.
Correct. Well, up to 4.
And I'd like to find out, again, look back a little bit so that we can get a
I mean,
feel for what the hours Jen's been
right, I
working.
mean, I've been the first one saying, okay, January, after the election, there might be some opportunity. But I think since that time, you've also got the special elections coming up due to, Carrie's seat being filled, so
Oh,
I
yeah,
think
yep.
there's been a couple more things added to the clerk's office that wasn't part of the discussion back in December.
Right. Right. And right now, you really don't have a definite on when she'll be coming back.
I do not. I only know that she will be gone at the end of this week. and I will be asking her to give me a better indication at the end of April, which I believe she'll have a better idea by then.
All right.
This is budget neutral then, correct? Because did you say it was on, her time off was unpaid?
Yes, yep.
I think the only thing I'd want to be curious about is precedent, you know, in terms of,
Well, I want to take a, exactly, exactly.
As far as,
well, I mean, just in my limited experience, you know, I would probably say that the board's always tried to do the right thing. I just want to make sure the right thing, which, I mean, I think directionally what you're saying, absolutely, if we can do it, we just want to make sure that we're not setting precedent that becomes policy in terms of this type of keeping jobs open, things like that.
I see.
And again, I want to make sure that is it presently a union position?
It is not.
And either one of these other
Are either one of them?
in the union, because we have to deal with,
I believe Jen is in the union.
all right, so we'd have to,
Dot i's and cross t's.
right, as we learned.
So could we,
You know what I mean?
Then-
Before we add hours on
okay,
to a union employee, there's certain steps we
Okay.
have to go through with the
could
union rep.
we reach out then tomorrow to the union rep to see what we would have to do to get this into effect by next week? Or is that not?
No, we can definitely contact them. Is it gonna be a matter of, do we need to set up a meeting to discuss it, or is this just kind of an informal discussion?
I would love if you do it informally, because you certainly will not have any argument from the union members.
Well,
Okay.
I would rather do it somewhat formally. I understand formally, but
You have to have a letter from the union that what he's saying, I would.
Do we need to convene a meeting, or can we just call?
right. Right, we don't want to make any missteps, because again, we're trying to do things fair and equitable. We want to keep everybody happy.
I think that, could you just reach out to Paul Coffey? Or maybe as simple as just the union reps here to have a discussion with their rep, and then, you know, let us, get us a letter that,
Yeah, let us know what
I think that's a
what we
proper-
have to do, if anything, to notify the union, et cetera, and then we can make a decision.
Assuming that that's all set,
And just a quick, would we be able to tonight make a conditional decision, or do you want to
Well,
take some time, or take it April 1st?
I'd like to see what kind of hours Jen's been working to get a track. Is a good,
So we're already,
w-
we're meeting on the 1st, next
Okay.
Monday.
well, bearing in mind just that, I mean, her Parks Department hours in the recent past, you know, because that's her, there's a very seasonal nature to that job, you know.
and it would also help to know just how long this arrangement would be going on.
Well, it would be one with a maximum of 2 months. You know, it will be 1 month. Whether it would be 2 or not depends upon what Lois says, you know, what the feedback is at the end of April. You know, I feel a month is,
So what,
Good.
you're gonna, I guess what I'm trying to say is you're gonna find out, is Lois gonna come back after a month or two?
yeah.
And if
No, I would,
not-
no, I'm hoping that by
could be
the
a
end of
minimum of a month.
April, Lois will be able to define when she's coming back,
Would it
if
be-
she's coming back. There's a lot of unknowns there, and I'm giving her an
Right.
opportunity to.
That's why I'm asking.
Yeah.
It'd be nice to know if she intends on
Yeah.
coming back, because if she's not intending on coming back, then we should handle this in a different manner.
No, her her letter asked for 2 months of medical leave, from April 1st to May 31st, with,
I would be under the impression that she intends to come back unless it's
Yes.
physically impossible.
yes.
But you understand what I'm getting
I
at?
do understand 100% what you
You know, because we go up with, take care of the position in a different manner.
Correct. Well, and as, you know, as of last week, I was not thinking along these very same lines, but it was not an easy decision to come to, but, and while it wasn't all at the same time. And it just comes down to what I think is due Lois as an employee, which is a chance to
Oh,
to
absolutely.
be able to do it.
Absolutely.
And I think a
agree.
month, and I think that within a month, we will have a good answer there.
Right. I agree 100%.
Yeah.
But I would like to see what, but you understand what I'm saying.
Absolutely.
The more information and the more certainty we have
Yep.
will give us a better
I
way to
wouldn't-
handle, to get a solution.
Yeah. I would not look for that information until the end of April. It will not be known until the end of April.
All right. But you can find out, what Jen's been working so that we get a feel for what kind of hours she's been putting in.
Sure.
And you say Sherry's only works 4 hours a week?
Mhm.
So that's a given. So, yeah, so then we'll take care of it, put it on the agenda for April 1st.
Just kidding. Getting to be that time of the night.
Yeah, it's getting late.
Okay?
All right.
Thank you then. And hopefully by April 1st, we'll have be able to go forward with some type of authorization from you guys for these two. Is that how it? I just want to make sure that I have my
Yes.
process correct too.
Yep.
You. Okay, all right, great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great night.
You too.
Good night. So we've got a couple of things.
Do you have our,
Go ahead.
previously we met with our union contract, do you have a copy of our contract in front of you?
No.
Because that will tell you what Jen's hours are, and I believe they are 28.
I can pull it up.
That
Because,
specifically spells that right.
Yeah, I mean, she was part-time in parks, had to be under 20, and we had 9 in the
And
clerk's
I know
office.
She did tell me the other day that she has 12 additional hours until she gets to 40, so there you go, 28.
Thank you.
please hold.
Now let's keep moving. He's still looking.
Go ahead, I'll find it.
All right.
Put it out in the middle of the,
28.
We have requests from Southwick Wild Animal Zoo, 9 Southwick Street, for a common vic and auto amusement license, kiddie rides, and public entertainment on Sunday. Anybody have the motion for that?
Sure.
I move to renew the common victual license Monday through Saturday, automatic amusement devices, 6 kiddie rides, and public entertainment on Sunday. Licenses for Southwick's Wild Animal Farm, Inc., DBA Southwick Zoo, 2 Southwick Street, pending positive return of routing slip.
Second.
A motion's been made and seconded?
Come on, you can't remember that? Please hold.
Ink on paper. A motion's been made and seconded to renew the common victualers license Monday through Saturday, automatic amusement device, 6 kiddie rides, and public entertainment on Sundays license for Southwick's Wild Animal Farm, Inc., doing business as Southwick Zoo, 2 Southwick Street, pending positive return of the routing slip. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? It's unanimous. For those of you who haven't been out there, it's a good place to go. It's, review executive session minutes for possible release and approve meeting minutes of March 19th, 2013.
I move to approve the meeting minutes of March 19th, 2013 as written.
Second?
A motion's been made and seconded to approve the meeting minutes of March 19th, 2013. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous.
Are we releasing any executive session minutes at this time?
You want to take the time to do?
No, these need to be reviewed. Ike was doing those. I'll add this to my pile of the last one we were supposed to do.
Okay. And we have a few things, some items that weren't anticipated that I'd like to discuss. We have a need, gentlemen. I have a letter from Amy Burns, and I'll read it. Honorable Chairman, it is with great sorrow that I must inform you that Douglas Taylor has passed away. He was appointed at your last June 4th, 2012 meeting as custodian of soldiers and sailors' graves for a term ending June 30th, 2013. He has held the position for many years and was honored to take care of his fellow servicemen. I will be passing on the grave markers, flags, and paperwork he had to the Roger L. Wood Post. You may contact them with who your new custodian will be. Sincerely, Amy J. Burns. So, gentlemen, it's sad to hear that Doug has passed away. Diane, please put a letter together and send to his survivors, please, from the board. And we have to fill this position, so maybe we can get it on the website. Yes.
Susan Tatro is the commander of that post. You may also want to contact her. She may have somebody.
Okay. And Robin Fletcher is our veterans agent. All right, and maybe we can, if we get some response, maybe we can put it on the April 1st agenda. Then we have one more thing. It's that time of year again for the annual town cleanup. I have something here from Rich Schofield. The combined Boy Scout troops of Mendon, Troops 1 and 44, will be organizing the annual town cleanup to be held on Saturday, April 20th, with a rain date of Sunday, April 21st. The Boy Scouts need residents of the town to volunteer in order to cover as much of the town as possible. The cleanup will begin at 9 a.m. at the Highway Barn, where volunteers will be given their route and some large yellow trash bags to use for collection. The cleanup will continue until 12 noon, when the Lions Club will cook burgers and dogs and have drinks for volunteers at the Highway Barn. I'm sure those will be soft drinks. It is highly encouraged to notify notify the event chairperson, Rich Schofield, in advance, as this will help in organizing routes. He can be contacted by emailing RWSI, that's a J?
Yeah, RWSJ.
The pen ran out of ink there. RWSJ24601 @
Let's get a hotter email address, please.
Or
Or you can send it to rschofield@mendonma.gov.
That's right.
Or calling him at 508-958-2958. We're looking for volunteers, and that's usually a good time too. We've been doing that for many years now. And I'd like to take the opportunity to thank the Boy Scouts for taking it over. And we have the BVT, we have a memorandum to the Blackstone Valley Vocational Regional District School Committee from Dr. Michael F. Fitzpatrick, the superintendent and director, concerning the recently proposed new debt with delayed impact. The date of this memorandum is March 20th, 2013, and I'll read it. Given the benefit of feedback from several of our district town managers, I recommend a delay in our March 7th, 2013 $9,900,000 debt package. At least some of our member communities have scheduled town meetings beyond the 60-day time limit to act on our request as prescribed by the Commonwealth. Like a school choice vote, the absence of action translates into a favorable or forced authorization. It has never been Valley Tech's intent to advance an endeavor in the manner referenced above. Additionally, we certainly do not wish to see any member community expend its limited funds on a special town meeting solely to address our debt request. For the reasons cited, I recommend that we encourage member towns, which I have included our debt wording within their warrant, to pass over that article. Kindly anticipate my request to rescind the previous debt vote during our April 4th, 2013 school committee meeting. Our recommendation should be viewed as a delay to accommodate the best interests of the communities we serve. The merit and logic of our original vote should not be impacted by this consideration. Okay. Rich, could you stay on top of this and give us an update?
I have been.
I know, that's why I'm...
I wouldn't be completely surprised if some of my actions have helped the cause that.
Okay. So, we have nothing less. Is anybody here for 4 minutes? Is anybody here from the Police Civilians Employees Association or the Fire Department?
No, but I think that Gene was waiting to go over the warrant if we were going to.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. All we got left now is to go over the warrant.
I'm really not prepared to even bring my paperwork, but if
Well, we
you
can-
had any questions on the articles,
Which articles, what are they?
Yeah, let's jump to them.
I wonder where they are on the warrant.
The update valuation, 6 and 7.
No, the update valuation and the cyclical, not those two.
No, this is 26,
Except through laws.
Chapter 59, Section 5N.
That's the veterans
Right.
one.
Now, that article is similar to the senior abatement program.
It's almost identical.
It actually made me wonder, do we need to think about the senior abatement program at the same
Well,
time?
that's kind of what I thought, too.
Well, Ken O'Brien, actually, you know, we had discussed that, and while I'm certainly in favor of the program, there's no current funding.
Right.
He felt that putting it on the books at this point without funding, at least it was administratively on.
Mhm.
So when you do in the future come up with some funding, we already have it in place. But we would need to, you know, make sure at town meeting, we were to tell people that presently it's not funded, so it's not operable. But
Right.
we're just, you know, making, you know, putting it on the books now, so when it does become operable. I've talked to Robin Fletcher, we have no idea how many people out there would be interested in this program, so I couldn't even tell you at this point what kind of funding you would need. And there's other things that you can put into the program if you wish, like it doesn't necessarily have to be the veteran that does the work. He can assign the work to someone else, but he benefits on his real estate bill from it. So there's all different kinds of things that the board can accept to be in the program.
Well, quite honestly, I don't have a problem with it at all. But,
I'd like to make it operable.
Right.
so would I, but I would also like to reinstate the senior abatement program. We stopped doing one.
Right, I think if
So-
either one becomes operable, they both have to become operable.
Right. So would we have to go through the same thing with a article on the warrant to,
Well, I think we just need to fund it, because we've already approved it, right?
Your senior abatement program has already been voted on a long time ago. It's just been on a hiatus right now
because of lack
because
of
of lack of
funding?
funding.
Hiatus. Nice way of putting it, I guess.
And the funding of that came from where?
That's
Well, it
from
was
the-
money put into the overlay account, which has not been put in for the last couple of years.
Right.
And that program costs anywhere from $12,000 to $15,000 a year.
Right.
And that was only allowing them to work up to a $750
Right.
limit.
Mm-hmm.
You can extend that to $1,000 now, the law has been, but we have not accepted that part of it. We've accepted up to $750.
How much money is in the overlay account present?
Very little.
Well, what's little to one person might be a lot to another, so.
Well, there was no funding in fiscal 13 for it.
I'm asking how much money's in the overlay account presently, if you know.
Well, there's several years dating probably FY '09, 10, 11, 12. I don't have those figures with me, but there isn't a lot because every year we have released funds to be put into the budget.
Right. I was just.
This year, there's a large possibility there will be nothing left in the overlay account.
Okay, go ahead,
But
Rich.
either way, Mr. Chairman, it still impacts the current budget scenario, so.
Oh, yes, I realize
Right.
that. That's why I was asking. So maybe sometime before too long, you could give us a snapshot of.
I can give you a snapshot up until this year, but we're
Yeah.
not through the process yet this year.
Well, then bring it up to last year, where you are through,
Okay.
you know, for
And
the
again,
last
like I
few
said, on the annual